Welcome back to Real Shift, where we like to talk real shit all day, every day, all for the love of movies. I am Joe. Before I get into it, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Any little bit of feedback or support would be greatly appreciated. Without further ado, I'm going to get right into it because we have yet another dumbass article by a dumbass news publication that is trying to discredit the Snyder Cut. I don't really understand what the media's issue is with the Snyder Cut or why this is such a bad thing, but people continue to bash it. And this is actually coming from a company that actually, if I'm not mistaken, originated on YouTube. So you have this company, and it comes from What Culture. So if you know who they are, then you understand. You've probably seen some of their videos. I've seen some of their videos. Not an avid watcher, obviously, but I've heard of them. But they released this article. Basically, it's called 10 Movies You Should Have Watched Instead of Campaigning for the Snyder Cut. Basically trying to insinuate that campaigning for the Snyder Cut was somehow time not well spent. To me, this article comes off as being very arrogant and kind of looking down on the people who were campaigning for the Snyder Cut and basically wanted to kind of somehow discredit them and the cut itself, and by also kind of talking down to us and basically making it sound like we don't know what real movies are. Like, you can't have watched these movies that they list and still be on board with the Snyder Cut for some reason. Like, the Snyder Cut is somehow below them and this. So that's just the vibe I got from it. I'm going to go through some of the bigger points of the article and briefly go over the movies that they suggest, some good, some not so good. But basically what it comes down to, the first quote that I really noticed that really got me, I guess really got under my skin was, it's a ridiculous amount of effort, time, and money just to justify curious fans. Now, it's not about justifying curious fans. It's about giving fans what they want. And I said many times, there's absolutely nothing wrong with giving fans what they want. I don't know where the stigma came from that if you give fans what they want, it's somehow a bad thing. If you give fans what they want, that creates loyalty with that fan base, and they are going to support you moving forward. This was a great move by WB to listen to the fans, unlike most major companies do, and they're taking the initiative to try and make the fans happy because they know this is what a large chunk of their fan base wanted, and they are appeasing them, and there's nothing wrong with that. So this just comes off again as being kind of, I don't know, just holier than thou and trying to talk down on people, and it just comes off as being really ignorant. It says, again, couldn't that energy be spent elsewhere watching other movies? And again, you can do both. It's possible for you to watch classic movies while also campaigning for a new cut of a movie that you thought was subpar. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I really don't understand what the point of this article was, because to me it doesn't really make sense, like the point he's trying to make, but maybe it's meant to be taken in a joking manner. I don't know. I didn't really take it that way. To me, it just took it as them taking shots at people who wanted the Snyder Cut or the Snyder Cut itself. He goes on, of course, to actually, he or she, I don't know who actually wrote it, but they go on to actually doubt that the cut actually existed. That's kind of a go-to point for everyone. Like, they doubt it actually exists because they're actually putting all this money into it now and bringing actors back to... They're just doing all that to kind of fill in the gaps, but I'm of the opinion that there was a large chunk of this movie, at least, that was done before Whedon came in, when Zack had to leave due to personal reasons, and Whedon came in and just basically reshot the movie. So to continue to doubt that this cut actually exists, again, it just comes off as being ignorant. It's been affirmed that if you annoy studios enough, they'll get the band back together and remake the movie you're not satisfied with. Again, this is them trying to make fans look like spoiled brats, or like we just complained and bitched and moaned until we got what we wanted, and that's not what happened. There was a fan base for Zack Snyder's movies, and we came together and we established that we wanted to see the continuation of his vision. We wanted to see the movie that we never got to see. There was a fan base for his movies, regardless of the cold feet that DC got and WB. There was a large chunk of people who were a fan of his movies and we wanted to see more of it. It's not about being a brat. It's not about bitching and moaning till we get what we want. If that were the case, then I would say, yes, we don't deserve it. But that's not what happened. There was a whole movement. It was a powerful, strong thing what happened to see people come together and try to fight for something that they really wanted. And this guy's turning it, acting like an asshole and trying to turn it into, oh, we were just bitching and moaning and throwing a hissy fit, basically. So he goes on to say, he jokes about if people, I guess, bitched enough, how they could get Disney to release the Edgar Wright cut of Ant-Man. I don't know anybody who's asking for the Edgar Wright cut of Ant-Man. I mean, maybe over there in England, where this is where what culture is based, if I'm not mistaken, maybe that's a thing. But like over here, like I don't necessarily think anybody's checking for a new cut of Ant-Man. I couldn't even get through the first cut of Ant-Man, so I don't really think that a new cut of Ant-Man is going to change my mind on anything. But regardless, he's just kind of making jokes again and kind of poking fun at the situation. He goes on to say, while that bleak idea of the future of cinema peculates in the back of your mind, let's look at 10 films the internet could have watched instead of asking for the Snyder Cut. So basically he's saying that the future of cinema is somehow in danger because people were given what they want. The fans are given what they want. And I'm here to tell you that I think the future of cinema is in danger by not involving fans, because if you look at what we've gotten from these major franchises over the past few years, the studios clearly don't know what the fuck they're doing in any capacity, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be Marvel, whether it be DC. I don't care what anybody says. The studios are lost when it comes to these properties. They don't actually know how to make them work in the correct manner. Yes, they still make money, of course they do, but that doesn't mean that they're good. You know, just because something makes money doesn't mean that it's good. And that's something that I say a lot of times on here also. But when it comes right down to it, he's painting this as like a bleak future for cinema because fans are getting what they want. No. The idea in Hollywood should be to please fans, to keep them coming back for more, not to piss them off. Like that's what a good business does. That's what a healthy business model lays out, is that you make your fans happy. You make your customers happy. I mean, anyone with half a brain knows that. So for this guy to continue to do this and try to discredit this, it just goes again towards the whole idea that Zack Snyder, for some reason, there was this campaign against him, this I don't know, this built-in bias, whatever you want to call it, where people just wanted to rail against this guy and everything that he did for whatever reason, and he just became the punching bag for the media, for ignorant people in the media, for people on social media, and anyone who just wanted to really just rag on somebody. And I don't understand it, because the guy's never done anything to anyone necessarily. He's not an asshole. He doesn't do things in the media or call out fans or anything like that. But the people who call out fans, these are the people that are praised by the media. People like Ryan Johnson, and you don't understand what I'm saying? Like, that's who the media praises, because they fight back against fans, not people who appeal to fans and who actually listen to what the fans have to say, because the fans to the media are pieces of shit. And apparently to everyone at What Culture, anyone who is interested in the Snyder Cut is a piece of shit as well, because that's basically how this whole article comes off. So he goes on to start listing his movies, and I have to admit he does mention a handful of very good classic movies. But again, you can watch these movies with it and also support the Snyder Cut, so I really don't understand the point he was trying to make. But he mentions Mission Impossible Fallout, Speed, Jaws, Lord of the Rings, all good quality entertainment for sure. But then there's like these other choices on the list that, again, I can't tell if he's making a joke, like if this is supposed to be taken seriously, or if he actually feels this way, he or she. But there's some less than stellar movies on this list, and I'm just like, what exactly are you trying to accomplish here? He mentions like The Rock, the Nicolas Cage movie, which I don't necessarily think is a great movie by any means, but he mentions that. He mentions Street Fighter. Yes, probably one of the worst video game adaptations that there's ever been. It has a quality just from a so bad it's good perspective, but I don't think it's necessarily something that you should be watching instead of campaigning for a better version of a movie. He mentions the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, and this is where I think that it's got to be satire at this point. Like, you can't be serious. I mean, as big of a Power Rangers fan as I was when I was younger, that movie does not age well at all. And Power Rangers in general has its flaws. I mean, let's be honest, it's not exactly Shakespeare. It was entertaining when we were kids and we have a nostalgia for it, but as from a storytelling perspective, it's not, it's not anything that's going to change your life. And then the biggest one that he notes here is Solo: A Star Wars Story, and this goes in again to the built-in bias in the media and trying to prop things up that aren't very good and trying to tear down other things that people actually want. But he mentions that we should have been watching Solo: A Star Wars Story instead of campaigning for the Snyder Cut. He tries to draw comparisons between the two by saying both had directors that were basically replaced while making the movie. Slightly different situation because, again, Zack had to leave due to personal reasons, while Lord and Miller were actually forced out by Kathleen Kennedy because they had a vision about what they wanted the movie to be. And, of course, she wanted it to be something else, which is typical of Disney. So they don't allow people to be creative at Disney. They want everything to fit into their mold and exactly how they want it to be. So she forced Lord and Miller out. Now, if you told me we were going to get a Lord and Miller cut of Solo, I'd probably be interested in that too, to be honest with you, because at the very least, it'd be different than what we got, because anything is going to be better than what we actually got, which is probably the most generic and boring Star Wars movie ever created. It goes on to say that if you rewatch Solo now after The Rise of Skywalker, suddenly there's more charm in this movie and you can, I guess, enjoy it better. I don't know what these people are watching, but The Rise of Skywalker, no matter how bad it is, and it is bad, hasn't made me look at any other movie differently. It just showed me how bad Disney Star Wars has been through the whole course of its existence. It does not make me like movies that came before it any better. I'm sorry, that's not what it does. It just reaffirms the idea that they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. That's exactly what Solo did for me. And what Rise of Skywalker did to just reaffirm that. Of course, they go on to say that the characters are fun. That's the typical go-to thing for everyone in the media and critics. Everything's fun. It's fun, so that means it's good. It's fun. It's fun. That's fine. It's all well and good, but fun equals popcorn movie to me. That's essentially what fun means. They just found another word to basically interpret that. And then the biggest thing he says is that Alden Ehrenreich does a admirable job as Han Solo, which I couldn't disagree anymore, because basically Alden Ehrenreich is a cosplayer in Solo. That's what he looks like to me. He doesn't look like Han Solo. He looks like somebody pretending to be Han Solo, if you understand what I'm saying. And that has nothing to do with the fact that Harrison Ford is so synonymous with the role. It's just that Alden Ehrenreich is so miscast in the role, and everything they did around him just doesn't come off and it doesn't seem like the same character that we got in the original trilogy, or even The Force Awakens for that matter. But that's a whole nother issue. But just to the fact that they're trying to prop up something like Solo, and in order to tear down Justice League, the Snyder Cut of Justice League, it just goes to tell me everything I need to know about what culture, about what they represent, and it's basically opened my eyes and told me that I basically don't need to ever watch anything or read anything from them ever again, because it's this kind of ignorance that really gets under my skin and really just, as a movie fan, to be quite honest, just makes me sick to my stomach. Like, it's okay for movie fans to demand something and for the studios to abide by it. I think we should demand things more, to be quite honest with you, because that's the only way we're going to get what we want or what we deserve or what we want to see. Like, why wouldn't they want our input on exactly... Now, you can't have, a lot of input on it. Obviously, there's got to be some level of creativity from the filmmakers involved, but I mean, it should be largely about the filmmakers involved, but they should also be striving to appeal to the fans, because they're the people who are going to support your product. They're the people who are going to go see your movie. So again, I just find it really disgusting that people are still trying to bring down the whole release the Snyder Cut movement and trying to bring down Zack Snyder still for some reason. But this is where we're at right now. I will continue to fight against people like this and report on stuff like this, because again, this is what I'm here for. I am here to stick up for the people in cinema, in film, who are being destroyed by the media and by these horrible YouTube channels and sites and basically just trying to rip them apart and discredit everything they do. I will fight against those people tooth and nail, because when you stick up for something like Solo, a Star Wars story, that just goes to tell me everything I need to know about you, and that you really don't know what a good film is, and you probably shouldn't have the job you have. It gives me hope, though, that this channel could be something someday, because if trash like this is being put out and people are reading it or people are watching it, then I should be able to become something at some point. I realize I'm not there yet, but someday I think I could get to that point and do it better than they ever could. So let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Of course, I'll continue discussion down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.